Hi guys, I want to talk about the transition between the total solar eclipse on the 12th of August to the 28th of August, so coming up, the lunar eclipse in Pisces. And I'm also extending this forecast to the 11th of September, which is a Virgo new moon, because I feel that the 28th of August and the 11th of September lunations actually have a lot to do with each other. They kind of run in parallel. And this is because they both have a very strong Uranian influence. So think radicalism, think something unexpected or unforeseen. So I'll be talking through that in greater detail during this video. And remember, we're still in the eclipse time period. Just because the solar eclipse is over doesn't mean it's over. We're very much in it still. The effects of the eclipse have been known to last over a few months. And once we get to the 28th of August, we're actually tying up loose ends from 2025 and early 2026. So this is an opportunity to say, okay, yes, we have moved on to new themes thanks to the eclipse on the 12th of August, but we're also needing to wrap up old themes from 2025, early 2026. So there's a lot to kind of parse out in this instance, but I think it's important not to lose sight of the fact that there's still important information here to look at. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Deborah Lynna. I'm a professional astrologer. I use Western astrology, but I also love to use Vedic techniques as well as Persian techniques in my birth chart delineations. So if you have questions about your specific birth chart and want to get into the nitty-gritty, please get in touch for a reading. And to start off with, as I do with all these videos, I'm going to talk about the introduction. I'm going to give the lay of the land because that's going to give us a lot more information about what to expect in general. I also don't want to repeat myself 12 times, so I'm trying to keep this video a little bit shorter. But it's important to get to know the introduction because I'm not going to repeat that information in the rising sign portion. And on that note, if you do not know your rising sign, please refer back to my last video where I talk about how to figure that out. If you need to use the chart calculator, I'll also link it in the description box. Lastly, if you don't know your birth time, then you can also refer to the introduction. You'll get plenty of information about what to expect in these next few weeks. So let's get cracking. We're kicking off with the Virgo season from the 23rd of August to the 23rd of September. And usually we associate Virgo season with this calm, orderly, organized situation post-holidays, getting your house in order. But because of the transits right now, it doesn't feel that way. It's a little bit wacky. It's not as grounded, and that's something to keep in mind. This is especially true if you have your birthday at the end of August, where you might be feeling this discomfort or something's got to give. You're trying to reinvent yourself and bust out the gates. And maybe even reconsider a radical way of expressing yourself and finding your purpose. So that's something also to consider for this time period. Around the 24th, 25th, there can also be feelings of fatigue, lethargy. You don't really feel like doing too much. This is optimal for meditation. It's optimal because we're very psychically porous at this time. I will be speaking about who will be more affected when we get to the rising sign portion, but just in general, it's more about healing, especially if you're working with someone that you really trust and that you really feel supported by. But you want to be careful with who you're spending time with on those days because of that psychic porosity, let's say. It's also not a great time for important conversations, really clear communication, deal-making, negotiations. I would try to avoid the 24th and the 25th. However, immediately after that, until roughly the first couple weeks of September, the mind does get sharper. We do start to move into that Virgo season. You get more detailed, more organized, more able to put your thoughts in order. So that is coming. It's just not coming immediately. When we get to the 28th of August, this is the Pisces lunar eclipse. So it's a partial lunar eclipse. It's a full moon. And the moon is going to be in Pisces between the 27th to the 30th. So we have those few days, which is the eclipse time. It's at 4 degrees 55 minutes. So if you have planets at 3 to 5 degrees. If you have planets at 20 degrees Leo, you may also be affected by this. This is the tail end of the eclipse cycle that we've been having in 2025 and early 2026. So you are, in a sense, wrapping up some of the themes, which of course I'm going to be more specific about when we get to the rising sign portion. However, there is a caveat that in 2025 and early 2026, Saturn was also rolled up in these eclipses. So it could have been more blocking, more difficult energy. And it was only after February that we were really able to see the effects of these eclipse and this free flow energy. So even though it's similar themes to 2025 and 2026. It doesn't necessarily come with the challenges that you might have experienced in that time. And that's a really important caveat. I'm not going to repeat that in the rising sign portion, but it's just to consider that themes, yes, but maybe it doesn't play out exactly in the same way, and you actually get more of this advancement and free flow momentum in this time. We do have one more eclipse in this axis in February. It'll be in the sign of Virgo. So Virgo and Pisces are equal and complementary, two sides of the same coin with each other. And so we are still going to see some of those themes crop up again in February. So you don't have to feel like you have to wrap everything up. Some of that still might exist until February of 2027. The other interesting part about this eclipse is that there's a Uranian energy to it. So something unforeseen, unexpected, which may just mean that you need to see something from a very radically different perspective in order to resolve the issue. Remember, a full moon is when the sun and moon are on opposite sides of the chart, opposite sides of life, so you may be pulled in two different directions or trying to make a decision. And with the Uranian energy, you have to look at things from a different perspective or shift your thinking radically, be open-minded, be open to change in order to resolve something. It can also look like a disruption in your life, which prevents you from doing the thing that you intended to do over those few days. So remaining flexible in our time and our thinking is going to be supportive. Also, just as a side note, this is not advisable for travel. Uranus is in a travel-related sign of Gemini. If you're trying to make travel plans, just be flexible in case that does come up. One of the other qualities to this particular full moon, as well as the next new moon, which I'll talk about, is that it activates the outer planets as well. Now, some of you may already know about the activation of the outer planets, which is causing this supersonic speed, this change that's happening at such a rapid pace. I talked about it in a previous video, so please watch that. I'm not going to talk about that here. But it is an important caveat, but it is an important piece because it's going to make us feel like there's so much momentum during this full moon. And that is partially activated by the fact that the outer planets are also on fire at this time. So we are going to see the outer planets active up through 2032, on and off in these different kind of aspects. So it's not just this year that it's important, but it's actually going to be a much longer time frame. And the lunar eclipse is going to spark that up again. And when we get to the 11th of September, this is the Virgo new moon at 18 degrees. So if you have planets at 18 degrees, it's important for you. If you have planets at around 0 to 1 degrees of Libra, also relevant. This new moon is going to be roughly between the 9th to the 11th of September, a little bit in the first hour of the 12th of September. And so you have that energy for those few days. It's actually quite an activating new moon, so a lot of energy in this one. Even though, again, we associate the Virgo new moon with order and discipline and organization, things are actually going to be quite active. One of the key things about this new moon is that we may want to begin something new, but because of the Uranian energy, things may be disrupted, things may not go to plan. So if you are trying to start something new at this time, I would wait. I would wait until after the 14th of September when at least that Uranian energy is a little bit calmer. And one of the reasons is that it's not that you won't be able to start something new on this new moon. It's that if you start something new, like a relationship or a project, what you're saying is you're encapsulating that energy into the new relationship, into the duration of that project. So it's going to have volatile characteristics or signatures. So we want to start something new symbolically as well with a more calm and less volatile energy, unless that's what you signed up for, unless that's what you want. The other thing is that the outer planets are also activated here. I almost think they may even be more activated. It is cerebral, it is intellectual, there's momentum, there's ideas, free flow conversation. You might be engaging with a lot of new people, new ideas. If you have a lot of fire, if you have a lot of air, this is going to be even more so for you. Again, the outer planet situation is coming in and out for quite some time. Certain lunations, certain transits, so new moons, full moons are also going to activate the outer planet, that headiness, the speed at which things are changing, the volatility during certain parts of the year. So with all of that in mind, these are the pillars that I would look to in terms of the dates coming up for the next few weeks. And now you can go back to the rising sign and see where in your life this might apply to. Aries rising, okay, keep this in the back of your mind that this month is actually about drawing down, going inwards, thinking about your internal and emotional well-being, connecting to your family, connecting to your roots. There's a lot that's going on at home. However, there are a lot of things that are also drawing you in outside directions, especially if they are relationships. So this is a time where you might be meeting new people, new romantic partners, new business associates, whatever it might be, especially up until the 10th of September, but even in and out into early December. So this theme is still present. Also keep in mind that this year is about playing the long game on many fronts, so to be mindful of getting distracted by too many shiny new things. Fast forward to the 28th of August, where we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces, and the push and pull is going to be between detaching and retreating and wanting to get away and needing to get into the onerous parts of work, of the daily habit of daily life. And so that's where you might be feeling pulled in two different directions. And due to the Uranian influence, it might mean that you're not able to detach and retreat in the way that maybe you expected. For example, a social engagement comes up, or you have a task that you need to complete, which doesn't allow you to fully get away and take some time for yourself. This eclipse is also great for spiritual and internal work. However, because it's not a great time for travel, I would also just advise on not traveling during this eclipse period. You may also be inclined to spend money. There could be unforeseen expenses that you have to deal with. Doesn't mean that you don't want to pay for those things. It just may not be planned or something like you didn't expect it to be as much. Again, these eclipses are linking us back to the 2025 eclipses, the early 2026 eclipses. And you might be thinking, okay, how did I connect to my spiritual life? How did I connect to that part of myself that really needed to detach and rest? And make that a balance. And how did I balance that with the work that I needed to do? So this eclipse is basically testing those two sides again. Fast forward to the 30th of August to the 1st of September. There's a couple of days there where there's a bit of tension. That could be a professional topic, but just to say that it might not be a great day to go head to head with anyone. Then fast forward to the new moon in Virgo on the 11th of September. And again, this is a great time to begin again. You're starting a new routine, you're starting a new habit. However, because of the Uranian influence, my recommendation is to wait a few days, maybe until after the 14th, to start something fresh. You can start something, but you might bring in that volatile energy that I mentioned in the introduction. One way that you can incorporate the Uranus energy is starting something fresh in your daily habits that's kind of unusual, like something that you wouldn't usually do. Try to look at it from a different angle. Don't start the same detox that you usually do. Don't start the same way of working that you might usually do. Use that Uranian energy to look at it from a different perspective. This new moon is also highly energizing. So again, it's not going to be something where you just want to sit at home quietly and start something new. You could want to move around. It could bring up some emotive things, maybe some internal work that you're doing at this period. And also with regards to relationships, you might be meeting new people under this transit, but you want to be careful about the kind of people that you meet. So take it slowly. Don't jump into things. If you are working in a business collaboration, maybe this is a time where you do a little bit more creative brainstorming. Maybe you're meeting up with more creative friends. There's definitely something a bit more free flow and organic about this new moon as opposed to rigid structure. So if you can kind of divvy it up in that way, the new moon will come, do some creative work, allow yourself to go in different places, come back after the 14th, start afresh with a little bit more discipline and a little bit more structure. Taurus rising, one of the overarching themes of this time is getting your house in order. So the proverbial house, your wellness routine, your daily habits, just really ticking off all those boxes. And this theme is prevalent in and out until early December, so you don't have to rush into anything. Secondarily, this month up until the end of September is also busy in terms of multitasking. Maybe you're seeing a lot of different kinds of people. You have a lot of fingers in different pies right now. You're consuming a lot of different information and really thinking about a wide variety of subject matter. So when we come to the eclipse around the 28th of August, we're revisiting the themes of 2025, which may look something like this. You're taking things that you're passionate and you're you're interested and you love, and combining that with how you can activate your long-term goals. This is going to be increasingly important as we move through the eclipses in the next year or so. And so trying to combine what you're passionate about with your long-term goals could be one of the themes that come up for you. And you're revisiting this as a function of what's been going on in the last 18 months. And remember, we still have one more eclipse in February of 2027 where you can continue to revisit these themes. Remember that because there is a Uranian influence here, you may be inclined to look at something from a different perspective in order to resolve whatever puzzle that you're trying to solve. Secondarily, you may also be looking at different kind of investments right now. Maybe you're thinking about different investment strategies. Financial themes might be coming up for you. Not a great one to actually implement investment strategies, but certainly one to look at different angles and to consider from different perspectives. And lastly, other themes that might come up for you is spending time with your kids or spending time at home, feeling like you're pulled in these different directions where you want to go forward and think about some of the bigger picture stuff, but there's some stuff that's taking you back to the home life right now. So it makes it a little bit more difficult to get to that place. Again, the eclipse time is always very heightened. Don't give yourself the pressure that you have to complete everything in this one time period. Around the 10th of September, we switch gears momentarily, where your sights may be more towards relationships. You're thinking about clients, maybe pitching, maybe romantic relationships. All of that can be a possible next step. And this coincides with also the new moon in Virgo on the 11th of September at 18 degrees. This is a wonderful time to start a new passion project, consider what your hobbies are. Maybe you're spending time with your children. But remember, because of that Uranian influence, that it would be best to consider starting that at a later stage. You're seeing a lot of these parallels from the eclipse on the 28th of August. I also consider this a very creative lunation. So if you do need time to workshop something, especially where it has to do with work, how you're integrating and you're brainstorming, use this new moon to do that. Maybe don't launch any new projects, but you can use this as a time to get into your creative flow. And lastly, as I mentioned in the last one, please no financial decisions because of the Uranus retrograde happening in financial house. So you may be prepared for some unforeseen expenses or outgoing costs at this time. Gemini rising, maybe there is a little bit more money spent during this period up until the end of September. However, there's also a lot of pleasurable opportunities as well. So doing things that are creative, doing things that are pleasurable, enjoying new romances, all of that is present until roughly the first 2 weeks of September. Having said that, once we reach the 24th and the 25th of August, you might feel a little bit tired. So this is that fatigue that I mentioned, maybe more psychically porous. Try not to put too many things on your plate during this few days. Great for internal work, great for spiritual work, great for contemplation, not great for deal making, not great for money management. Then by the time we get to the eclipses, 28th of August, this is the Pisces full moon. So the last 18-month cycle has been substantial for you in terms of the eclipses. They have been meaningful eclipses, things at home, things at work. Maybe you're finishing a professional transition. So we're really drawing from the themes and energies of that period, and now we're wrapping things up. Remember, we still have February 2027, where some of those themes might come back, but you are in this process of finalizing this transition. And during this eclipse, you might even be learning some new things, learning some new material, going down some coursework. So it hasn't completed yet, but you are somehow wrapping things up. This is especially important if you have planets at around 5 degrees of Gemini. So if your ascendant degree is there, if you have planets there, then you may be going through a period of radical self-expression, of big changes, of something that something's got to give energy. And therefore, this eclipse can feel a little bit bigger for you. If you don't have planets at 5 Gemini, you may not feel it as much. Okay, so not everybody with a Gemini rising is going to feel this Uranian transit. Another theme that might come up is needing to be with a parent, needing to take care of something at home. Again, it depends on your chart, but the theme of looking after family or looking after a parent might be coming up again for you. And lastly, with all of the momentum that is taking place during the eclipse, agreements, contracts, social engagements might also be a theme. Because of the volatility of the Uranus square, I don't recommend signing anything at this time, but there may be a lot of momentum. So if you've been sitting on something, there could be some developments during the full moon, during the eclipse. By the time we get to the 11th of September, this is the Virgo new moon. It's taking place in your fourth house, which has to do with home, which has to do with your nest egg. So it could be literally spending some time at home and just needing to rest. Or it could be you thinking through some financial things right now. You're thinking about what you want to spend on. Maybe you've just moved as a result of this last 18-month transit, and now you're refocusing your gaze on what's happening at home. So that area is going to be concentrated. Again, it can influence your relationship with a parent or a family member. Because it has to do also with your internal world, you may also be interested in pursuing something that you're passionate about. Again, you might need to spend on it, but that's okay. This is all just part of that transit. And remember that because the new moon does fall on the Uranus retrograde, I would recommend waiting until at least after the middle of September before activating new things. This is especially true if this has something to do with financial commitments, because that can also be brought into the fold since Mars is activated, and that has to do with the way that you're spending money this month. Cancer rising, there's a lot of yang energy in your life right now where you're just plowing forward. Maybe you're feeling more motivated. Maybe you're feeling more emotive. This can have to do with your professional aspirations. It's also pleasurable things, things that you're passionate about. So there's that in the backdrop. You may also be spending more time at home. This is a wonderful time to redecorate. Maybe you're setting up your home business. You can invite friends over to your place in this time period. It's a wonderful time to reconnect with people. As we fast forward to the 28th of August, here we're seeing the remnants of 2025, early 2026 eclipses. So you are combining the things that you know to be true about yourself, that you understand and you feel strongly about, and you're putting effort into making those things a reality. This can be professionally related, but this is just generally speaking. It's time to find that balance between what I believe in and needing to put some effort into making it happen. Because of the Uranian influence, there can be some setbacks. And because financial themes are important for you this year, it is good to consider saving some money for a rainy day or just being mindful that certain things might cost more than you would like. I'm saying this because of that yang energy and because you're moving forward at quite a rapid pace now. To just know, okay, there can be some volatility. And you might need to look at something from a different perspective in order to realize whatever it is that you are working on. Right after the lunar eclipse leading up to around the 1st of September, there's a couple of days where there's a bit of tension. That could be work related, that could be in a relationship. So if you are in a negotiation, if you're having to have some important conversations with people, I would just avoid those few days where things might get a little bit more gridlocked or a little bit more heated. If you are looking for days for motivation, you could choose the 5th to the 7th of September. This could make you feel a bit more emotional, so it's a bit of a wild card, but it definitely lights you up, it makes you more magnetic, and it'll make you go for gold. Take a little breather right before we hit the new moon, so around the 9th of September, because that's when your energy might be a little bit lower. Try not to put too many things on your plate during that time. Have a day of rest, and then immediately after that we reach the 11th of September, new moon. This new moon is about putting in effort. It is about using all of your skill sets to achieve something. But because of the disruptive influences, I recommend waiting a few days until, say, the middle of September to activate on them. So again, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to do those things. It just means that you might need a little bit of extra time in order to realize those things. You may also see some momentum with agreements and contracts around this particular new moon. Again, I would wait a few days before activating on those things. Instead, I would use this time to go into a more reflective state before you activate on them. You could get a lot of inspiration or some messages during the time of the new moon because there's a lot of internal dialogue that gets activated during this particular new moon for you. And lastly, it is a social transit. So even though I've just told you that it's nice to step back and go inwards with yourself, you might just be finding that you're in multitasking mode. Again, that yang energy is present. Nothing you can do about that. You're moving forward. Just be mindful of the fact that because we've got those Uranian energies, be mindful before you jump right in. Leo rising, we're in the middle of an important month since we just had the Leo total solar eclipse on the 12th of August. Important if you have planets at 20 Leo, if you have planets at 29 Leo. I made a separate video about that you can watch. But we're still in the middle of this eclipse period. So we're moving swiftly along with important themes. But at the same time, we're revisiting now themes of 2025, which we're going to talk about right now. There is stuff going on in the backdrop. There is rumination or maybe difficulties that you're needing to deal with, maybe something to do with your home life that can be weighing you down, that people are not seeing. So that's happening up until roughly the end of September. However, it is a really nice time to lean on your social network, to lean on your close friends who can be supportive for you right now. Again, it depends on the chart, but this is more or less something that you can turn to in order to get that support right now. Once we reach the 28th of August, which is a Pisces full moon, once we reach the 28th of August, which is a Pisces lunar eclipse full moon, this is going to bring back the themes of 2025. Some of that may have been financial themes, management of money, really saving for a rainy day, but it could have also been crisis management, really needing to go inwards, deal with the vulnerable things, deal with sudden events in your life that sort of changed the course and direction that you thought you were going to be on. So this eclipse, in a sense, is bringing that theme back. It's helping you reevaluate, okay, where are you at? How are you tying up those loose ends? Where did you get to? And remember, we still have an eclipse in February of 2027, which is going to ignite those themes again. But already we're petering out of this series of eclipses. So internal work, a little bit of a vulnerable space, and because we have a Uranian component to it, a Uranian experience and signature, let's say, there can be a feeling like I need to look at this from a different perspective in order to resolve whatever's going on internally, in order to resolve the financial situation, in order to resolve whatever it is that you're dealing with, possibly with someone else. And this may have something to do with a long-term plan that you've had, which can have some disruptions as a result of these eclipses. Fast forward, when we get to the 11th of September, which is the second lunation I want to talk about today, this is the Virgo new moon. This is more clearly having to do with your financial arrangements. You could be starting a new habit financially, maybe thinking about different ways that you're making money. Maybe you've started something new and this is the beginning of that cycle. However, please wait until after middle of September because of that Uranus retrograde, which could throw things off, which could mean that, hey, you thought you were going to start something, but it might take an unexpected turn. So bearing in mind that, yes, it's a money-focused thing. Yes, you could be starting a new financial habit, but bear in mind that you want to give it a few days of a wide berth so that Uranus can kind of do its thing. That being said, even though there's a seriousness to it, even though there is something that in some way is weighing you down, maybe mentally, maybe behind the scenes, there is a very cerebral quality to this new moon. There is action, there is momentum. And so your social circles, your social networks, your friends, your acquaintances can be supportive for you during this time. During the actual new moon, be careful about making new commitments. Be careful about making new agreements. Something about contract signing or anything too official is a little bit dubious. However, in general, there is a lot of free flow energy at a social level. So you've got two things that are happening at the same time. One is that there's stuff going on in the background, could be weighing you down. It's been an intense eclipse season, but you've also got support and activity of your friends and your network, which could help lift you during this time period. And something to consider is how you're going to balance the more serious transit with that free flow social energy happening at the same time. Virgo rising, you might have come off of a tricky end of July and you're cleaning out the proverbial closet. So with this next eclipse on the 28th of August, what you're doing is you're wrapping up the themes of 2025 and early 2026 and trying to decide how you'd like to move forward. We still have one more set of eclipses in February 2027, but the themes are slowly starting to dissipate. Around the 24th and 25th of August, you might feel a little bit more tired. Again, there could be a feeling of fatigue, of just needing a bit of time to recuperate. Do that, take advantage of those few days, do some healing work, some spiritual work, meditate. Great time for that kind of contemplation. After the 25th of August into the first couple weeks of September, roughly, things start to change. Your mind starts to get sharp. You're starting to be more chatty. You want to be more out there. and that energy will start to shift. There may be more professional opportunities, and I would encourage you to also reach out to different people because you are more magnetic and you are more able to command a presence at this time. Once we reach the 28th of August, we have the Pisces lunar eclipse. So that's a full moon in Pisces that's activating relationships for you, that's bringing people into your network, into your vision. And it's a great time to be out there, and people may naturally just appear in front of you. However, because we have that Uranian twist, it may not be exactly as you expect, or you're in a relationship and something comes up and sort of throws you off a little bit. So you want to be mindful, whilst this is a full moon and there is full visibility, that there is still something unexpected because of the Uranian twist. Secondarily, because this is something that might have to do with a professional matter for you, maybe you need to look at your career from a different perspective in order to resolve whatever it is that you're working through. When we get to the 11th of September, this is when we have the new moon in Virgo. So obviously this is a great time to symbolically begin again. If you have planets at 18 Virgo, this is going to be important for you, or at 0 to 1 degrees of Libra. However, because of the instability of this particular lunation, I would recommend waiting a few days. Wait until mid-September before you begin these new things. If you start something under this lunation, then you're bringing that volatile energy into that new relationship, into that new project, or into that new job. So trying to be mindful of the way that you enter something. The mind is strong, even though the mind is not that sharp on the actual new moon. There might be a lot of ideas being generated about how to make money or what kind of work you want to do, things that are work related. So I would also take advantage of using this time to brainstorm and to be creative. And remember, just lastly, that this year is about getting your house in order. This new moon is not the only opportunity for you to do that. It's just one of the moments in the year in which you can symbolically begin with caution. Libra rising, you have a strong magnetism right now. This is up until around the 10th of September, where you can pamper yourself, where you can do something nice, shopping, basically attracting people into your life. And at the same time, work is also busy. So you're revving things up. You are taking action professionally. And you might find that clients are also coming to you at the same time. So both professional and personal matters at the same time. Professional life will remain in force until the end of September, where things are going to be busy. However, there is a little window between the 30th of August to the 1st of September where relationship tension might be present, or you meet someone and they're not exactly what you think they are. So just tread carefully, especially since this is a time where you might be meeting a lot of people or attracting people into your life. When we get to the 28th of August, lunar eclipse in Pisces, this is activating themes from 2025. And again, it's making you think, okay, how much work do I need to put in? How much rest can I take? And right now, life might be quite full on. So you've got a lot of work on your plate. But think of it this way, that it's actually contributing to some of the long-term things that you're going for. Okay, it's connected to your long-term vision for yourself. This is what's happening in this particular lunar eclipse. Because of the Uranian transit that's happening at the same time, there could be some tension. There could be something that disrupts you from being able to achieve all of those things during the full moon. So try not to put too many things on your plate. I also mentioned before that this is not a great travel lunation. This is especially the case for Libra. So bear that in mind. If you do need to travel, try and avoid at least on the days of the eclipse. Fast forward to the 11th of September. This is the Virgo new moon. Take a pause, take a retreat. Don't travel too far for the retreat, but maybe just take a few days to connect with yourself, connect with your internal world, your spiritual space. This is a great time to do that. And especially because life is so full right now, especially because work might be quite busy. Another theme that can come up during the Virgo new moon is connecting to more creative types, letting your creative juices flow. Again, we've got that wacky Uranian transit coming up, so you have new ideas. Maybe you're inspired to teach something. Maybe you're inspired to learn something new. So as much as there is a time to recuperate and rest and really retreat, as I said, this is quite a cerebral lunation. So it's activating a lot of the parts of the chart that are getting you chatty, that are getting you excited about things. And that other reality is happening. It might not be so easy to rest and recuperate because that cerebral part is also very active. And it is all contributing to the work that you're doing to achieve your long-term goals, as well as the professional things that are happening right this moment. Scorpio rising, maybe you are working through some new ways of approaching your career. Maybe you're looking for a new transition right now. And especially until the end of September, you're in this mode of absorbing information, of knowledge, of really trying to figure out what is my North Star. So we have that happening in the backdrop. Now, once we get to the 28th of August, we've got a full moon. It's a lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. This is about pleasure. This is about the things that you love and that you're passionate about. And because it's a full moon, it's connecting the things that you're passionate about with the things that you would like to do in the long term. So how do you make that bridge, especially since you might be, again, in a period of a professional transition or professional emphasis? We want to tie that back there as well. Because there's also the Uranian influence. There's something challenging you to say, okay, you have to think about things in a radical way in order to solve this puzzle, in order to solve this riddle. There can be something unexpected that comes up that throws you off course, like you're not able to do the things that you love or the things that you want to do in the long term in these particular few days during the eclipse. Don't be surprised about that. Again, we can plan, but with Uranus, it's always a few steps ahead. Another use of this period is getting yourself out there, putting yourself out there. Again, a little bit unexpected because Uranus, but still, it's an opportunity to branch out and really express yourself and in the way that you truly want to be heard. Just be mindful that around the 29th of August to the 1st of September, there could be a little bit of tension. Maybe you're burnt out. Maybe you've been working too much. Maybe it's just like an immune system thing, especially because things are not going necessarily as quickly as you would like. There's still things that you're trying to figure out before you are able to fully move forward. If you need a few days of motivation, you can use the 5th to the 7th of September. This is going to give you a little bit more full power energy. It's a little bit emotional, but it can certainly get you excited and passionate and motivated for moving forward. And lastly, when we get to the 11th of September, this is the new moon in Virgo. So this is really highlighting the vision that you have for yourself, the connections that you have in your life. It's energizing, so you might feel energized, you might feel motivated to do something. But again, with the Uranian twist, maybe something happens that you're not able to move forward as quickly. Or you'd like to move forward, but I recommend waiting until at least the middle of September to do that. Okay, so don't jump in right away because there's a few gnarly bits during that actual new moon, if you go back to the introduction video, where it's not really advisable to take action immediately, okay? But that's not to say that this cannot be a symbolic start for a new beginning, since it is still a new moon. And you want to take it back to 2025. You want to take it back to early 2026. These are themes that have been present already for some time. You've already been working through this balance of, okay, what am I passionate about? What is my long-term vision? How do I bridge those things exactly? So they're not new themes. You're just revisiting them again. Remember that you still have until February 2027 when we have another eclipse in this axis, which is going to bring up those themes one more time. And lastly, there is a secondary theme, which is a little bit more witchy. Like you want to get into that more esoteric side of you. Like you want to connect to that side. And actually, I think that this particular new moon is going to be very nice for that. It's going to be great for meditation. It's going to be great for connecting to yourself internally. I would highly recommend doing that because you might actually get some inspiration for those next steps. Sagittarius rising, this is a continued year of growth for you. So you're imagining the places that you're going to go to, the things that you'd like to learn. But there is something difficult at this present time, and that might be causing you to kind of go in circles internally behind your thought processes. So there is something that's holding you back that you need to deal with emotionally at this present moment, and that's going to last until roughly the end of September. Now is the time to lean on your friends, on your network, your community, your groups, because those are currently being supported. And that's going to help you through this time period. When we get to the 28th of August, we have the Pisces lunar eclipse, so full moon, that pulls you back into the direction of the home life. And there's something that is necessary to look at there, but there's also something going on at work, so it's pulling you in these two different directions. It is an opportunity to revisit the themes of 2025, where this was a substantial time of needing to balance both what's going on in your career and what's going on in the home sphere. And not necessarily just in your family, but really what roots you, what creates a foundation for you, a place where you feel more settled. So this is an invitation to also explore that. And at the moment, you might be rethinking and revisiting, what does it actually mean to be rooted? What does it actually mean to have that kind of foundation? During this eclipse, there may also be disruptions at the relationship level, so something sudden that comes up, or there's a conflict with somebody that you have to have a resolution around. Looking at things from different angles is going to be able to help overcome that Uranian tension. Following that, from the 7th to the 9th of September, we have a kind of emotional time. So this is a good opportunity to connect to yourself internally. Try not to put too much on your plate in those few days, especially as we are leading right into the new moon in Virgo. This new moon in Virgo is energizing. It's energizing because, again, you might be going through some things internally. So there's one element, and you might also be revisiting what you want out of your career. Doesn't mean that you're going to have a major career shift in this time, but you might be rethinking, okay, what do I want out of my job? What is it exactly that I'm searching for? Maybe this is an opportunity for a new shift. Remember that it is a bit of a hairy time in terms of unexpected or unforeseen events, especially if you've got planets at around 5 degrees. So bear in mind that you may not want to start something new on that particular new moon, even though it's quite energizing. And in addition to that, this new moon may also tie into some of the things that you're thinking about your long-term goals. So instead of just thinking about what you'd like to do from your job in terms of going from job to job, consider, how does this new moon, how does this particular moment in time link back to some of my longer term aspirations? Capricorn rising, you might have a lot of people coming into your life right now, both from a professional perspective or just relationships in general that you're needing to manage. So there is an element of things keeping you busy. Some of those relationships might even be a little combative. Got that in the background happening until roughly the end of September. However, if you're looking for new work opportunities, now is the time to put yourself out there. Those themes will drift in and out until the end of the year, but for the time being, it's a nice time to also explore those new opportunities. Once we reach the 28th of August, this is going to spark again the themes of 2025. So this is your curiosities, skill building, learning, socializing with friends, and community. However, because of the Uranian influence, you might find that there's some disruption, or you're not able to learn the things that you are trying to get to. It may also be that you want to learn something very different, so a completely new way of looking at things. All of this is to say that you're wrapping up these new interests and you're going to take them into the new year with you. You may get the travel bug during the eclipse, but I do recommend not traveling. I mentioned this in the introduction. It is a bit of a turbulent time in terms of travel and disruptions. Fast forward to the 30th of August to the 1st of September. This is a little bit tricky for things at home. So maybe you are needing to spend more time at home. This is also a period where you're figuring out where your foundation is, where you feel grounded. And these few days may draw you towards that subject matter. When we get to the 11th of September, we also have a Virgo new moon. This new moon, as I said, has a pairing with that last lunar eclipse. It has a Uranian quality. This one is about expanding your horizons, understanding yourself. Maybe you feel like going on a soul-searching journey. Again, I'm not recommending travel here, but you're interested in learning a new body of knowledge. So you're expanding your horizons somehow, and it may be linked to your professional direction. So that's something to take into consideration. Bear in mind, though, that because we are having this Uranian transit, that you may not be able to start new things on that particular new moon. In fact, I would recommend waiting until after mid-September to start on things, especially if it has something to do with kicking off a new career or a new major project. So even if you are in a stable career right now, you may just be getting a lot of new ideas. Maybe there's things that you want to do and you want to shake up in your current workplace. You want to bring those new ideas forward. You have new ideas about generating income for yourself. So allowing yourself to also go there. This is a much more creative lunation, even though it has the Virgo quality to it, which we normally associate with precision and detail. I would actually say the cerebral quality comes out a lot more. You can lean into that for those big ideas. Aquarius rising, life is firing on all cylinders right now. So it could be professional, it could be personal, but you've just got a lot of taskmaster energy going on. This is especially the case if you have planets or your ascendant degree at around 29 degrees of Aquarius. And of course, we've just had the solar eclipse in Leo, which would have also been a very important and busy time for you. Now we're moving into the 28th of August, which is the lunar eclipse in Pisces at 4 degrees. And it is a continuation, as I said, of 2025, early 2026. It's about money. It's about taking care of your responsibilities. And that also includes taking care of what you put inside your body. So your body as an asset and a responsibility. And at the moment, your health could also be a place of focus. So these things are really lining up for you in this period. In general, as I said, this is a time about wrapping up and putting your house in order. You may also be having a conversation with your partner about how you manage life, how you manage money. However, because of that Uranian influence, something could disrupt that. So for example, maybe you wanted to focus on the money piece in this time, but you got distracted. You had to take your kids out. You needed to go to a dinner party, whatever it might be. And there may be also another circumstance where you're thinking about your money, but you need to be more creative around it. So although I wouldn't recommend making any investment and financial decisions on the eclipse itself, maybe you're really trying to get creative about finding some financial solutions for you right now. When we get to the 30th of August to the 1st of September, so it's immediately after the eclipse, we also have a few days which are not great for communication. So this is going to be a bit more difficult for you to get your point across in a way that's clear and effective. And I'm saying this as well because relationships are one of the themes for 2026. So bear in mind that if you're having those important conversations, to try and avoid doing that during the 30th of August to the 1st of September. The other piece is that it can also be another conversation with partners around money. This doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could also be in a business relationship. Because there is some challenge with communication still around this new moon, I would avoid having important conversations on that new moon, but maybe use this month, since the new moon represents a whole month of activities, as a way to bridge those conversations. I would also say that because you're moving towards a year of really growing in autonomy and thinking about how you show up for yourself uniquely, this Uranian influence is kind of amplifying that. So one of the things around this time period is that it is activating the mind, it is activating the brain, especially when we get to that new moon time. So you might have some great ideas, you might be daydreaming, you might really be on fire intellectually, mentally. And even though it's a Virgo new moon, which is usually associated with something more precise, I'd actually say that this is quite energizing to the mind, and you might find that you actually have a lot of big ideas coming out of this period. Pisces rising, there might be a lot of things on your plate right now. You might be working on a lot of passion projects. Maybe kids are taking up a lot of your time. There's just a lot of things that you need to manage. And sometimes some of those things that you're doing, especially where it's work related, may not feel like it's producing the fruits of your labor immediately. So some patience is required with that. When we get to the 28th of August, this is an important lunar eclipse because it is in your sign of Pisces at 4 degrees. And this is one of the final iterations of the eclipses on this axis. We've got one more in February of 2027, so we're not quite done yet, which is finalizing the themes that you might have experienced in 2025 and early 2026, which had to do with you, which had to do with relationships, how you worked through that. And in this particular case, the 27th to the 30th, where the moon is in Pisces, you are magnetic, but you may also be emotional. So bear that in mind. At the same time, you may also find that there's a lot of work coming on. So you're busy with, again, taskmaster situation, relationships, magnetism, emotional, but also a lot of work going on. So this is a full plate. Try not to overload your schedule in anticipation of this time. And also because you may be feeling like actually you're starting to want to just detach a little bit, not work so intensely all the time. You're needing some time away for rest, but the full moon may not necessarily allow you that opportunity. Remember that we also have a Uranian quality to this full moon, so you might get this lightning bulb moment, like an aha moment, or there may be something disruptive in your home life that doesn't allow you to do the things that you anticipated on this full moon, on this lunar eclipse. When we get to the 11th of September, as I said, this is kind of a pair with the 28th of August. It's the Virgo new moon at 18 degrees happening in your 7th house of relationships. And this could be the symbolism of a new beginning for a relationship. Of course, it can always symbolize an ending as well. It needn't be so dramatic, but it's a time of changing over. And you're thinking about these relationships, especially since that has been an ongoing theme for 2025 and 2026. Remember, this is also an energizing time for romances, for things that are exciting. So it could be bringing new opportunities into your life. So it could be bringing you new romances as well. And it's not just for this new moon in this particular time, it's the entire month. If you are beginning something, if you're trying to start a contract with someone, if you're trying to begin a relationship or project, I would still wait until after this new moon has passed because of the Uranian element, which could cause disruptions or something a little bit volatile. And we don't want to be starting new relationships, definitely not, on a volatile transit. So if you can wait at least until the middle of September, let's say, to begin again, that could be helpful for you.